All right, so still here in Alamance County at another portion, still in Snow Camp. Is that accurate? So James, let us know where we're at and about all these structures that are around here.
Okay, so we're here in Snow Camp, and more importantly, we're here at the Snow Camp Theater. The story of Snow Camp Theater goes back as far as 1969. James and Bobby Wilson and others decided that it was important to somehow showcase this history, this Quaker history that everybody knew about, right? We knew about the regulators. We knew about the fact that Cornwallis retreated here after the Battle of Guilford Courthouse, which of course we'll talk more about later. The fact that they pillaged some of the resources here. So those were stories that people knew. And of course the struggle of Quakers seeing their neighbors going to war, and this idea as a pacifist, what do we do, right? And so they thought it was important. And so they connected with Mark Sumner, who was at UNC, and he was part of the theater department there, to do a feasibility study. And he said, look, it's going to take a lot of work, but you guys can do it. And so at that point, the Wilsons started to secure this land. James could talk the spots off a dog, and so they were able to secure this land. I think most of it is under a 99-year lease.
Oh wow!
And
it's been here for a while.
Yeah. Well, this is the 50th year.
Oh wow! Okay.
Of Sword of Peace.
Okay.
So we don't really have as much time as we think.
Yeah.
So they secured the land, created the Snow Camp Historical Society, which main purpose was to let people know about the history. And then in 1973 or 74 was when Sword of Peace first went on, written by William Hardy, who was also part of the theater department at UNC. And so in the course of that, they would gather different buildings.
From across the state?
From whoever, because in a lot of cases, these were buildings that were going to be torn down.
Yeah.
People kind of knew, let's reach out to the Wilsons, see if they're interested in these buildings.
There was never no building that James didn't like.
No, no, not at all.
He was a different type of hoarder.
Yes.
He was a hoarder that actually had space.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine how things were overgrown. Like over here, directly across where we now have a peace garden, all that was bamboo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all that was bamboo. And so all that's gone. The stage, which I guess we can walk back and check out, all that was overrun as well. Remember, this is a 50-year-old spot. And so a lot of the places where actors would be and all that, just not safe, right? And so it has taken the last 2.5 years or so just to get to this point where we're actually going to do a show this week.
Even at the peak of the production, we were down here every other day working behind,
right.
trying to shore up something.
That's
or
right.
put a new roof on something or patch something.
Yeah.
And, during its heyday, this site was on par with like the Lost Colony and Unto These Hills and Horn in the West. And it was advertised as that. The biggest impediment, though, as James has mentioned, is it's in the middle of nowhere. So there was some reticence about coming down here to some spot, that there's no interstate nearby or anything. I used to joke because there's a two I-85 sign out here. Well, it's still 15 miles.
That's right.
To it.
Right. Yeah. And so on the very end, what used to be Ye Old Country Kitchen.
A very popular restaurant.
Very popular. Yeah.
It's only out in the rural areas. You can walk in the middle of the road.
Yeah. We were lucky that when they first started, Governor Bob Scott, he was the governor at the time, and he's from Alamance County. And so this is a state road.
He had this road built.
For the drama. So that's why it's called Drama Road. But yeah. So some of the spots we used to have almost like a museum. And so some of the old implements, farm implements, things like that James would collect. And so we kind of had a museum and you would walk through these various buildings.
Well, there's a loom down here, a weaving loom that was donated by the Murrows in Center Community. And as a child, I used it, a shuttle loom, and made fabric on it.
Wow.
That same one?
Yep.
So your church is over there, your meeting house is over there?
Yeah, they donated it for the museum here.
Yeah. So now this is more of a, what we call the peace garden, but all this used to be bamboo. So this guy, Vestal, apparently he was a forester. And he, apparently he helped to plant a lot of these trees that are here. I didn't realize that, and I did some research, and they had a photo of this grave, but yet all this was trees. All this was trees.
It's almost hard to believe that this is just sitting out here in nature like this. You drive down the road leading into the facility, and you wouldn't even guess that there's this huge amphitheater back there where they can host, it looks like 100 or maybe 200 people for a show. Yet here it is. It's pretty amazing.
This is it. And like I said, wasn't that long ago, this was not good.
It was all washed out.
Yeah.
As far as the terraces.
Yeah.
And,
we have done in the last 2 years, so we do a Christmas thing, and we do a spring thing, and then we also plan to do Shakespeare, which is not the first time we've done it. Actually, back when the theater first started, we would do Shakespeare here as well. But the two historical shows is just so important to get that done. In the past, we used to do a 6-week run during the summer, and we would go. So the Institute for Outdoor Drama, they have auditions. There was a point where there were as many as 12 outdoor dramas in North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
And so we would all gather, and people would audition, and folks would come from all over the country to audition, mainly kids in college from theater departments and whatnot. And so they would come at this place, like a common place. And so it wouldn't just be us, people from Lost Colony, people from Horn in the West, all of us would come together and we would audition, and then you offer them a spot. And of course, you have some people who would get an offer from us, but they would also get an offer from Horn in the West or whatever. And so this is when, James was really good about talking people into coming here, because, it's kind of hard to compete against, let's say, Lost Colony, which is the
at the beach
mother, and it's at the beach, right? But then when James would talk about the experience that you would get doing 2 historical shows, plus doing kids shows, plus we did a musical, right?
and drama camp.
And drama camp, right? Okay. And so as a young person in theater, not only did you have a chance to play in several shows, you also had a chance to direct. Let's say that you were interested in tech, but never got that chance to be involved in tech. You had a chance to be involved in tech, or
put on your resume,
or vice versa, right? We had tech people who wanted to act. And so you had a chance to do that as well. And so from an experience standpoint, I don't think anybody else could really match us when it came to that. But we've been doing this for 50 years.
So when I first met James in 2001, he played the lead role in Pathway. He was William, who was the, escaping from slavery, wanting to rescue his family and such, and getting caught again.
Yep.
And I got to play Levi Coffin, who was trying to get him to safety.
Nice.
And you mentioned kids. My kids were the little kids running around like in the scenes of the meeting house and the schoolhouse and stuff, being taught with the black kids.
That's right.
You know, and Adam Crook Schoolhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come out here, you don't expect to see this when you're driving down the road.
No, you don't.
You don't.
No, you don't.
And the Cane Creek is right behind the stage there. The water's flowing, you know, that this whole community was built around. And, you know, the story, you see the mill wheel.
Yes.
So the Sword of Peace starts with the story about Simon Dixon and his mill, who the ruins are right upstream here, I don't know, quarter mile or less from here. So these historical dramas across North Carolina were they were predicated on, they occurred where the historic events originated.
So this is the spot.
Next on the
Yeah.
stop.
We are going to go to an actual site where the Underground Railroad passed through here as a station on it.
Is over Jordan.
We hope you enjoyed our visit with Ron, Max, and James as we learned about Snow Camp Outdoor Theater in Snow Camp, North Carolina. The history, nature, and stories we got to experience here were truly incredible. We're so thankful that Ron and the crew were willing to share with us and with you. In the next and final installment of our Quaker Underground Railroad series, we visit a 250-plus-year-old house that's been in Ron's family for generations and currently sits along the historic Underground Railroad Trail. We end under a massive witness tree on Guilford College campus, also a stop on the Underground Railroad. We're excited to have you all along to see what other secrets and stories we have to uncover along the way. If you love what we're doing, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to see what we've got coming up next.
Are free. Deep river, my home is over Jordan.